The year is 2020, and you're listening to episode 173 of PHP Ugly. I just guessed it's 173, actually. I don't even know what episode we're on. I am your host, Eric Van Johnson, and with me on this beautiful new year, my friend, John Congdon,
Hello, hello.
and Thomas Rideout.
Hello from the future.
I guess we should get confirmation. Is it 173 or is it 172 or
It
what are
is.
the
It is
one?
173.
Holy smokes! I just pulled that out my ass. That's how good I am at this now. I can just make things up and make them a reality.
You've gotten so good at pulling things out of your ass now that it's almost a second nature.
It just comes naturally to me. Happy New Year to two of my good friends in the world, and then to you two as well. How are you two doing? Did you have a good holiday?
It's been but forever since we've talked.
It really
Yes.
has.
At least on this show, right?
We have not recorded in a very long time. Matter of fact, I hinted in a tweet that we may be done recording, but nobody called. Nobody seemed too concerned about it, so I figured, well, maybe we should just go ahead and keep recording. How was everybody's holiday?
Quiet. Sent two of the kids off to San Diego, and got to stay here and relax. It was very, very nice.
Nice, nice.
For the whole holiday, or just for a few days?
For a week and a half.
Nice.
Yeah, it makes things a lot easier to have just the one kid in the house who doesn't wake up until 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
So you only have to deal with them for a few hours, and then you go to bed.
Yep. Yeah, it's
So
a fine balance.
why did one stay back?
Because he doesn't like San Diego and doesn't like visiting his family there.
What is there not to like about San Diego? That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, his dad.
Uh, yeah, I gotta admit, I don't like him either. That's the worst part of San Diego.
How was yours, John? You're the one with the kids that are right in that sweet spot right now.
Oh yeah. Did you get the question yet?
No, not yet. He's only 5. I mean, I think he knows, but one day he'll learn where babies come from. I understand.
Yeah, from Santa.
No, they both got their one gift from Santa, and they loved it. And my 5-year-old wanted a rock tumbler. I don't think you realize that you put the rocks into the rock tumbler, and then you just let it sit there for a week, and then you do it again for another week, and then another week.
What made him want a rock tumbler? That's kind of
he,
an odd.
he is he is so big into gems, like gemstones and minerals and geodes. For some reason, that's just what he's into. And he saw this thing in a magazine. He asked what it was, and I think Jackie kind of explained what it did. Jackie, my wife, and that was what he wanted the whole Christmas season. That was the only thing he put onto his list to Santa to make sure that was the one thing he got.
A rock tumbler. Yes.
And then my 3-year-old got his skateboard that he's been wanting, so he's on cloud 9. So
You need to get that get in there and using that one wheel we got. That'd be awesome.
Yeah, nothing better than a kid that you can't catch at 25 miles an hour.
3-year-old kid just tearing down the neighborhood.
yeah, I'm sure the wife would love that as he falls off and tears a groin like Uncle Eric did.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, let's not relive that one, please.
Have you recovered from that yet?
He's a little bit more flexible. Yeah. The massaging you did on it really helped. I appreciate it.
No worries. I'm glad I could help.
Appreciate that. Yeah, it's good. I went to Texas, which was not my first time in Texas. We obviously went to Longhorn a couple times, a couple years back, but It was fun. We were up in the Dallas area, Fort Worth area. Uh, Hung out with family. It went really well. I was a little stressed about it. You know, whenever you get family together, it always seems to be a little stressful. But I tell you, everybody had an absolute blast. It was a good time.
Did you find a new house? You moving?
For a brief moment, Texas was back on the map. The wife was like, "Well, I don't know. I mean, what do you think about Texas?" And I'm like, "I think it's pretty flat."
You're not worried about sliding off the map or anything?
You know,
No.
he likes his states nice and thick, nice and curvy, big mountains.
Uh, I mean, it was all right. I mean, we literally just stayed at my nephew's house. We went between the hotel and his house, and then we one day we went to what they call the stockyard, which is like you know our equivalent here in San Diego is like Old Town, where you know they're like older buildings and stuff. But that was pretty cool. What was really weird is when we went to leave, our flight was out of Dallas Love, which is an airport right downtown Dallas. So we went down there early, figuring, you know, might as well see Dallas while we're here. And it was Sunday, really nothing going on. We just stopped at this random parking lot and parked. And I kind of looked down the road. I'm like, well, there's people standing down there. I wonder what's going on down there. And we walked down there, and next thing you know, we're standing on the grassy knoll, and we're in like you know, the little triangle of death there, where you know JFK got, you know, picked off and assassinated, and I'm like, and it just didn't occur to me. Like I wasn't walking there in anticipation to see it or anything. I had no thought process of it, and I showed up, and like you see it in so many documentaries, you watch it so many times on the History Channel, and you walk up on it, it's like, holy crap, I know where I'm at, and it was so weird, man.
He was driven to it as if by some instinct.
Yeah, no, it was interesting. It was, but it was fun to you know be in Texas, be with family. I think the stay was perfect. We were just there for a few days. It was a good time because we had family that flew in from the East Coast. My sister and mother, who was in Arizona, came to Texas, and then we came out from California. So it was good. It was a good get together.
It sounds chaotic having that many people get together.
And they all stayed in the same house, with the exception of us. They wanted us to stay with them, and I'm like, no. I'm very paranoid about sleep, as John will tell you. I don't even share a room with John when we travel.
Oh, I know.
I'm very
It's all
self-conscious about
action,
it.
and then you kick him out to his own room.
That's right. It's like we don't need to cuddle afterwards, but
Yeah,
so
I
we ended up
don't
not
usually
staying
cuddle
at the
after pair
house.
programming.
Um, so, but they all seem to they all were having a they seem to get along. And I was telling a friend of mine, you know, my brother, my nephew, he is to his industry like we are to coding, and his industry is the meat industry. So I know this isn't going to excite John, but he's like he's into meat at a whole different level. I mean, this guy is he started off as a butcher. He's he's earned his way through the ranks now. Now he runs all the butcheries for this grocery chain. But it's not only running the butchery shops. It's you know hunting. It's you know he's like explaining these cuts of meat and these different. You know, I mean, he gets so into it. And the whole time we were there, from morning to afternoon, he had the smoker going. Like there was something cooking all day, every day. And man, it was just a meat fest. It was so much food. It was so good. I tell you, it was quite the feast.
Yeah, it's still wouldn't call it a meat fest.
You wouldn't call it meat fest, a sausage fest. You wouldn't.
I would stay away from that one.
Did all those terms mean bad things. I don't know. There was a lot of meat there, but I
Any
mean, so proud of it. Yeah,
any coding stuff? It's been what, 3 weeks now.
yeah, yeah.
Three weeks off, right? Doesn't everyone take a month off at this
From
time of
their
year?
from their podcast? I don't know. I'd have to check with the other middle-aged men that I hang out with. Do you take 3 weeks off your podcast?
Apparently.
I got
PHP
questions.
7.4. I
Well,
mean,
I got
that's the
questions
big
for you,
news.
Thomas. I got a
Yeah.
question for you. Do you use a Windows environment for your development?
Uh, no, not really. I have a Windows environment, but I use it for most of my extracurricular stuff, just browsing and YouTube and stuff.
Okay. You use Linux for development?
Yeah, I'm still using Ubuntu.
I'm trying not to be too picky on the topic, but we recently we're going through a little bit of a hiring phase right now. We have some junior developers coming on, which is something new to us. We weren't really kind of ever thinking we'd be in the position to do junior developers, but we have some junior developers coming on, and we have existing developers who are Windows developer or who have Windows machines. And I tell you what, it really seems like the Windows developers struggle with their development environment. I'm just curious. It's been so long since I've used Windows, and I know it sounded like there for a while Windows was making like this big comeback. Like a lot of people were talking about Windows machines again. But man, with
There's
the
a learning
Docker,
curve.
yeah,
But
Um,
it's all Docker. Why should there be such a learning curve?
because it's the Docker for Windows executables, but if you're using the new Ubuntu or the Linux PowerShell, then you're running Windows executables as if they were Linux executables. So you sort of have to get used to this weird 50-50 environment that you're in. Also, I mean, the file systems in Linux are much more conducive to development, in my opinion.
yeah.
Doesn't have the weird, bizarre, long names that everything has in Windows. But I mean, it shouldn't be too difficult. It's just if you get Docker up and going, then everything else should be pretty fluid.
Docker seems to be a real sticking point for a lot of them. Many of them just go back to virtual machines running Ubuntu. Like I don't want to say old school because it really isn't that old, but they just fire up a VM with Ubuntu on it and configure the VM how they need it. But well, I don't know. I was surprised. I was surprised to see how much of a challenge it was for Windows developers. Still, to me,
Yeah, that is
it's
strange.
it doesn't. I thought Microsoft was tied to Docker somehow. Like, why is Docker so difficult on Windows? Is there no?
Well, so one of the things that you have to understand is that Docker has a very low-level communication through the kernel in Linux, and Windows is developing support for that, but I believe it's only in the server space right now.
Mm,
I don't think that the low-level, I think it's LXE engine is completely there for Windows 10 yet.
mm,
Um, and I mean, everything is more difficult with Windows. That's just the way it is.
mm. It's true. I was just curious. I was just curious if you used it on a regular basis or not.
Well, I tried getting it set up when I started playing with the Linux PowerShell hybrid thing, and not understanding what I was doing was what got me in trouble there. If I had known
Mm-hmm.
that you have to do everything through Windows as far as installing the executables and stuff instead of through apt-get,
Mm-hmm.
then it would have gone a lot smoother. But it really wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I have a Windows VM on my machine just because one of the clients we work with, there's these edge cases where we have to follow up a terminal, whatever it is, to connect to the Windows terminal service, uh, and it's very particular. It's very high security, and it's the Mac version doesn't have the correct security level. It has to be Windows. So, blah blah blah. I have a
Yeah.
Windows image, but I rarely use it, and oh man, yeah, whatever. I always thought it was kind of to the point now where it really didn't matter what platform you were on. Like development environments just kind of leveled out, and it was kind of an even playing ground for everybody, especially with Docker and stuff. But I guess it doesn't. I don't know.
I think once you're up and running, it is, but getting to that point seems to be fairly difficult, which is frustrating.
So yeah, what PHP 7.4 is now out, and we have some 7 versions of 7 that are now dead,
Dead.
unsupported.
7.1. Fully dead.
Uh, so 7.4 is out, and we got eight on the horizon. Fun stuff.
I got a new video card.
What's that do for you?
It just gives me higher, faster graphics with better shine. It really all it's done so far is point out the other components I need to replace.
Isn't
So-
that the way it always is? You're always chasing. You're always
Yeah.
chasing it.
Well, not realizing how old my gaming setup has been a bit of an issue. It's from, I found out, 2016.
Oh my gosh, 3 years? 4
Well,
years?
How do you
As a-
work on that?
as a gamer, that's quite old.
But what are you playing that you need that kind of horsepower for nowadays?
Fallen Order,
Don't you have a job?
the new
a
Star
fa-
Wars game, it's amazing.
But don't you have a job and family and responsibilities? When do you have time to game?
In between all that, like 2 a.m.
Who needs sleep?
So, are
Yeah.
either one of you guys New Year's resolution people? Do you guys do those sort of things?
Nope.
No, got John shaking his head. No.
I am not. I feel like I want to be a better business person, especially now with the changes we've been making to the business.
Yeah, for sure.
But that's my only thing is how do I do things better now, especially in light of losing people and gaining people,
Well, what do you think you're
handling
not doing
clients.
well? I mean, what do you have an example of what you think you need to do better?
You do a way better job of working with the developers. Like I know who's working kind of where, but not down to what they're working on and the work they're producing and just that type of stuff. I do more on the business side of things, not the actual work side of things.
I was about to say. I mean, I always thought that was kind of a divide. Like, I mean, if I have to pay people, I can. Well, fortunately, we don't have to worry about that now. But there was a time where you and I would physically go into a system to pay people, and I think I had to do it like twice. It's like, yeah, I could get it done, but it's more. I always figured you were more the business person, and I was more like boots on the ground sort of guy.
Yeah. We actually have an issue we're dealing with now. I don't know how much we should get into it. Like dealing with clients that micromanage
Seems to
down
be
to
a scenario now.
down to they want to like I understand wanting to see the code. Okay, you want to see the code, that's fine. We'll show you the code. But they're getting down to the database and table and field names. It's like you realize it doesn't necessarily impact anything. You don't need to, you're the owner of the business. You should be about the process. Tell us how the business runs so that we can develop for it. And instead, it's down to the minutia. And when it does come to the process that they should know, like they should know it front to back, everything in between, they want us to get it. They're not going to tell us all the details. They want to hint around and until it clicks in our head and we all of a sudden see their vision. And it's like, no, that's not how this should work.
Yeah.
So.
That's been a real challenge for us on a couple of clients actually, and yeah, it's something one of the things John and I are constantly talking about. Like once we get into a project, we're first thing John and I are probably the most critical of our group the moment projects start, and immediately we start to kind of identify as like, okay, what do we do wrong here? And 9 times out of 10, quite honestly, what we do wrong is we let clients push us around too much because we're trying to play that really weird game of listen, trust us, we know what we're doing, we'll develop this for you, but I understand why you don't trust us because this is your baby and something you want done a certain way. And so we're constantly trying to manage that relationship. But I tell you, if you don't put your foot down, man, it's a struggle. It's like John said, it's kind of hard to get into because obviously, I mean, they're clients and they mean a lot to us. And at the end of the day, we want what they want. I mean, like we don't have any clients where we're like, this project's stupid. We're just doing it for the money. We don't have anything like that. We're constantly trying to give them what they want and make the product better than they anticipated. I mean, that's always our goal, but it's challenging, man. And fortunately, John is that's where John's cool head prevails because I have a tendency to be a little bit more emotional on those topics. So, but I got so going down that path a little bit. You're a big fan of your project manager, Thomas, and this is like one of the topics that John and I talk about because we're wondering if having a project manager, a dedicated project manager in place, would be something that would help lower these issues of these communication issues with clients. What is it about your project manager? I mean, what does your project manager do, and why is it that you enjoy working with them?
Well, she wants to understand the root problem of anything that comes up. So when I say that's going to take an extra week and it's pointless, she wants to understand why it's going to take so much time and why I think it's pointless. And I can have a very honest conversation with her about that, where she can go back to the people who make the decision and say, the concern is this. She can word it very nice and flowery, and she can defend my position if she agrees with my position. And she's very thankful for the work that we do, too. I think there's a lot to be said for someone who appreciates the employees working for them. But she,
I mean, I've always stated that I've never been a fan of project managers, and I've never worked with a project manager I thought was worth anything. But I mean, I'm not hearing from you. What would motivate me to get a project manager, like pay somebody to be a project manager?
Well, her position is, as far as dealing with me, is purely as a go-between for the requirements and the bosses. They give her the commands, and she passes it on to me. The fact that there is very little technical understanding at the top means that there's this sort of gradiating technical understanding to get to me. In your situation, you have technical understanding of the issues top down. You guys know all of the issues. You kind of are project managers.
So it sounds it's not her title isn't really project manager. It should be more like product owner.
I believe that I'm just part of her job.
Right.
She's dealing with a lot of other people and juggling a lot of things all at once, and it's a very, very stressful job. Because she's dealing with deadlines for production and making sure features are met. She's doing QA on stuff. She's sort of the final point for our QA team as our integration tester. So, I mean, project manager probably isn't the right role for her or the right term for her, but that's just because she has so many roles that she's taking on. And one of them, it definitely is project manager for a lot of other things that are taken care of at the company, just not for me necessarily.
And
Gotcha.
you think there's a benefit to the fact that you don't have to do that piece, right? That you don't have to gather those requirements and then explain your position on tasks.
Right, because I would be more abrasive than I think the person who's developing these things would want when I say, like, this thing is dumb that we're working on and it's going to take a month. And so I can speak honestly to her and say, like, here's my historical reference for this thing. So I've been doing this for 20 years now. And as much as they might want to have an animated cursor that has lines that follow you as you go around the screen, I can say, well, I remember in 95 when people did that. And it's still dumb.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's one of the... We need an operations person before we have a dedicated PM in my book. I mean, we still need like a person dedicated just to manage servers.
Yeah, I think in your guys' position, if there's a task that you can offload to somebody that is an annoying day-to-day thing for you guys, then that's what you want to focus on hiring for. Because you're really hiring somebody to get the problem out of your head.
Right. In our position, again, with the fact that we're working, like your scenario is a little different in the sense that it's all internal stuff. You're not working with external clients. And it's like we almost need like an account manager, not so much a PM, but somebody, to manage the accounts from top to bottom for us when we get to that level. And I just don't feel like we're there yet. I don't know. It's a tough call. I definitely would like not to have to deal with it, and we've had a lot of issues that I feel like somebody in that sort of role might be able to help. But even when we try to use somebody as more of a PM, it it, it was it was still a challenge. But to their defense, they weren't really a PM either. So
That's the thing about putting someone who's already on board in the position of a PM is, I think it's something that you have to have experience doing, or you have to work under somebody who's an experienced project manager before you can really take the task on yourself.
Right.
I remember at one point I was promoted to a manager position, and I had no understanding of management and was demoted within 2 weeks because I didn't know what I was doing. And they, took me aside and said, "We're sorry, we just threw you into it. We didn't know you didn't know what you were doing." And I said, "Well, why would I know what I was doing? I'm 21, just got out of my tech school." Like,
yeah. Well, that's how it is in the enterprise as well. It's like the goal in the enterprise is to become some sort of manager. Like you're not meant to do the systems administration and stuff, or coding, or those sort of tasks that they can farm out easily enough. They only
right.
hire you to do that for a little while until they feel like you can manage that role, and then they start farming out your task and then make you manage it. It's
Yeah, and the last thing I want to do is be a manager.
yeah.
So another question for you, Thomas. Do you do any sort of kind of like sprints?
We have Stand Up Alice in Slack, thanks to Eric. So we do.
But that just says what did you do yesterday? What are you going to work on today? That type of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not really. I'm talking about more in the realm of the project. Do you have 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever where you're working on a specific chunk of tasks?
Our tasks are small, and we deploy at least once or twice a day. I deployed 3 tasks today, and I had to push out a total of, I think, 8 times to production. It's our stuff moves real quickly. We're not doing big projects or overhauls. We're just doing value add features and modifications to the admin interface, and we're tweaking cache on things. It's because we just have the one product, the one big product, then all we're really doing is maintaining that product and doing small itsy bitsy work.
Do you ever have this scenario where we have multiple developers working on one problem or one?
Yeah, so we've done a couple large overhauls of the system of the front end. Removing a bunch of features and then adding a bunch of new features, and that does require work, but that work is usually between one developer and one back end and one front end developer. So we both just get assigned onto the ticket, and then I run a bit of the management of that ticket to make sure that everything gets put together.
Yeah, the reason I ask is one of our clients just picked up for the start of this year. I guess it's their New Year's resolution. They have a product owner that is all about formulating the product, like trying to figure out, we're going to work on sections of it throughout the year. Mm-hmm. And they're doing 6-week sprints, and they took half of the developers working on it, so that they took 4 developers, and it's a big chunk of tasks that you have 6 weeks to work on, and hopefully you get it done. But it's up to us to decide what we're going to work on, when we're going to work on it. So there's flexibility, but still some sort of structure around it.
Yeah, and to me, that system requires somebody who's really good at Scrum and all of those different time management techniques, and people identifying how long stuff is going to take to work on. And that's a whole process that I think takes years of refinement. When we were at business.com for meetups, we got a presentation from their Scrum manager.
Scrum master,
right. Can't be a manager, has to be a master. Their Scrum master went over how Scrum works for, I think, 35, 45 minutes, and then maybe an hour of questions about, like, how do you deal with this? How do you deal with this? And it was like, oh, well, you learn that through experience. It's your team developed its own system for doing that, and you have to reevaluate on a daily basis. And it's like, okay, so your job is just full-time reevaluating everything that's being worked on.
Mm-hmm. We had 3 different meetings, anywhere from an hour to 2 each, with 6 to 8 people on it at any given time, going through the list of tasks, trying to break them up and trying to estimate them, and then getting into arguments over the estimates. And it's like,
that's the thing that you want to avoid, because how much money did that cost you versus how much time did it save you? I mean,
right.
And that's my thing with Scrum at my company, is that I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to deal with the extra time that adds for every meeting and every additional daily stand-up we have to do. And we don't have a need for it.
Yeah, I think it was more around not necessarily confusion, but some people want to be way too accurate on the estimates versus I just wanted to throw numbers out there. Like, I think this is going to take more than a day, so let's break it up or whatever the
Yeah.
case is. Uh, and some people wanted to get down to the details of, well, we got to include time for testing and review and QA, coding, architecting, like all these. And it's like, yeah, I understand all that, but at
Uh,
the end of the day, this is our first time doing it. Let's throw numbers at the wall and find out how far we miss.
that was one thing that the Scrum Master focused on, or that I focused on with that he was talking about, was that the stand-up is a stand-up because you don't want it to take 2 hours. You want it to take 5 minutes. And everyone does their independent analysis of how long something is going to take and then brings it to you. And you either approve it or say, you're wrong there. I'm going to hand it to someone else who can do it faster if it's going to take you that long. I mean, it requires a very aggressive form of management, which is saying, I know you can do this faster than you think you can, or I know this is going to take longer than you think it will, and I hate that kind of management.
Yeah.
So really, it's like, can we, for me, present me with the challenge and ask me, can we hit it in a day and a half? And I'll say, yes, we can hit it in a day and a half, or I'll say, no, you're missing a crucial complication in the ticket. You're saying we do this and this and this, but the problem that this thing introduces is going to take longer to solve than you are projecting it to take. I have stuff like that all the time where it's, add a new column, populate the column, and then fill it out with this and that. And I'll say, well, that's going to conflict with another column that we have on another product type that's going to have issues. So I have to add filters all over the place for this new definition. And, that's the self-management that I like to use, that I like to have other people use. Just because it trusts that the person is reviewing the ticket and understanding the work before they're giving you some kind of estimate in a meeting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, estimates are tough.
Yeah, I mean, we have Jira, and Jira has all this estimated time and subtask management, and like, is it a feature or is it a bug fix or is it a new release level? I don't even know all the things that you can define in it, but to us, everything. Yeah, we have improvement, task, feature, and bug. And to me, all three of those are identical. Like, I don't care in the end if it was called a bug or a feature. I care that the ticket works.
Yeah, but management cares of how much time are we spending on bugs versus how much time we're spending on new features.
Yeah.
Where's the money going is important.
Well, I would define some of the newly requested features as intentionally introducing bugs sometimes.
I was working on a fun one today where they have this whole idea around teams in the software, and you basically buy seats, right? You buy number of accounts that you're paying for. But within this company, you can have admins underneath admins. So there's this whole organizational structure to the account, which is a pain. And then how the billing was happening was just wonky, for lack of a better word, where the person who first bought the account may buy 10 seats, and then they can give out 9 admin accounts, but each one of those admin accounts has seats underneath it that it can
so obnoxious.
It's such a pain. And then we found a bug, but it's been that way for a decade now, where the sub admin was basically using 2 seats, one in the admin's account and from their own account. And it's never been pointed out before. It's kind of weird.
And that's why people use LDAP and Windows Server. I mean, account management is what Windows does for a living.
Yeah, I did want to say if you happen to be listening to this and you heard me say we just onboarded a bunch of new people, which we have, including a bunch a junior developer and stuff. If you're one of those people who responded to our tweet about hiring and you filled out the online application, we have not hired for that position yet. So, and we actually are just getting ready to go through kind of our second round of reaching out to people. So we haven't even reached out to anybody. So if you filled out one of those applications and you haven't heard from us, it's been the holidays. We've gotten such a huge response. I think we're up to like 44 or 50 responses. So a lot of information to go through. And we appreciate everybody who applied. Um, that's
Make
for
sure make
more.
sure you put Patreon on the cover letter if you're a Patreon.
That would help, you know. But that's definitely a higher level than what we consider the junior developers we brought on is. So I just didn't want anybody to get too discouraged if you heard us talking about that and you just assumed, oh crap, I didn't get the position. It's
But then
still
also keep in mind that we've gotten like 45 applications and there's only one spot.
yeah, yeah. There's that piece too. So
I got
but
into an arg
happy to see how many people were excited to apply.
I got into an argument with my in-laws over this New Year's Eve. Actually, we went out to dinner, and they were asking if we hired for the position we're hiring for. And I was like, no, yeah, we got a lot of applications, and we got quite a few from overseas. And I did some research, and it's very easy to pay overseas people, as far as we're concerned, until something happens in that country. Like, one, we have to know that country's employment laws, which could be a pain in the butt. And then you read some horror stories of, yeah, you have an employee that then holds you hostage or, is demanding more pay. And if you don't come to some agreement, you may have to take that person to court. And the one article I was reading, that was a huge deal in Brazil, you trying to find a Brazilian lawyer that spoke English and would take the case and
Portuguese.
not all of a sudden whatever. What? You're killing me here. So anyway, so I'm talking to my in-laws about this, and they're like, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't hire overseas. You have to worry about your client's state." And I'm like, "I have to worry about that with hiring in the U.S. too." And they kept going on. I'm like, "It's the same thing. Whether I'm hiring overseas or here, people can be bad. People can be good. There's not like living in the U.S. makes people great people all of a sudden." My 2 cents.
Yeah, you can't say that too loudly in Colorado Springs. People get angry.
I just think it's a ridiculous thought that if people live overseas that they're immediately up to no good.
Those Canadians, they're nice, but it hides a dark inside.
That major C between the U.S. and Canada. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Forget about that.
How is that whole transition going? I know I see updates from you guys in Slack all the time, but is it going smoothly?
As far as making people employees?
Yeah, you're moving from going contractors only to employees because of California's new law.
Yeah, it's going great, except for as we were starting this recording, I had somebody writing saying, "Hey, how does overtime work?" Because we made it clear now we have to pay overtime. But it's not just before it was very flexible. You worked when you wanted to. Now, because of overtime, you have to basically get permission because it's going to end up costing us a whole hell of a lot more, right? And in the past, if you only worked a few hours one day, the next day you could work lots more to make up for it. And I believe the California state law is over 8 hours is overtime pay. So it's not like you could work 5 hours one day and 11 hours the next day to make up for it. It just doesn't work out. So seems like the law prohibits the flexibility that we would like to offer our developers. But I'm still researching it. I don't know 100% yet.
No, and I think you're right. And it even rolls over to how many days in a row they can work as well. So, yeah, that's all things. Yeah, I totally forgotten about that. I tell you, this new law, uh, not a lot of people are happy about it. Um,
I've noticed that.
it's tough, and it's like at this point, even if they reversed it, it would be nice to give people the option to be a contractor or employee. But at this point, we're just like we're down this path now. It's like okay, well, I'm not gonna reverse this.
Have you guys
we
looked at Have you guys looked at flex time at all?
Not yet. I have to figure all that out now that it was brought up. I think I think the federal law is over 40 hours. It's overtime, and I think California makes it explicit over 8 hours in a day is overtime.
So a couple
But
changes to our stream for those interested. We're seeing some comments come in. I re-enabled commenting on our YouTube channel, so people catching us on YouTube don't need to figure out how to get on Discord to talk with us. If all you do is watch the show, you don't want to have the continuing conversation with us. You can actually comment on YouTube now. We also now stream on the San Diego PHP Facebook page as well. So I don't know what that commenting looks like, but that's there also. So yeah, we're streaming in more places, and we got commenting open in more places to make it easier. But ultimately, we do have a pretty active Discord channel. If you are listening, maybe listening to for the first time, Discord is John, myself, and Thomas kind of lurk in there all week long, and we have a lot of our regular listeners in there as well. And we kind of keep the conversation going all week in Discord if that's kind of the thing you're into. But uh, that's my PSA. Oh, thanks to all the Patreons. I think I spent Patreon money today. I upgraded our Restream account to allow us to post to the San Diego PHP Facebook page. I needed an upgraded account for that. So that was like I forget how much it was, but yeah, I think I spent some Patreon money today. Still haven't actually gotten a good intro like I promised everybody we'd do, but
It's okay.
Because you do a perfect one every week.
Yeah.
okay.
Stop doing all those numbers.
That was fun. I should do that again. Like have little tidbits of information. God, Thomas rolled his eyes at me.
So one thing I did during the vacation time was I built my Raspberry Pi Media Center. I've got all of my media management stuff on a Raspberry Pi 4 with an external 6 terabyte hard drive. And boy, it's nice to just have a thing I can move around and not have to worry about. And it's...
Yeah, I call it a Roku.
Well, but you're not into, downloading movies or anything like that.
I'm so over that. I'm such a pain in the ass.
Well, the whole objective is for it to not be a pain in the ass.
It is though.
It's not. I love my little system. Although I'm surprised at how much the Raspberry Pi 4 is, because it came out to like $90 for me, and the Pi 3s are like $35.
Well, the Pi 4 is only, I think it's $40, but I mean, if it came out to 90, you must have added a bunch of stuff to it.
Well,
Oh, that's
I
right.
got
The Pi 4 has the 2, 4, and 8 gigabyte version, huh?
right,
Oh
and it
yeah.
kind of requires a fan on the case for it. It runs a little hot, and I think the prices are artificially high because of the limits, the availability.
Hmm.
I think if you get the bare unit, the 2 gigabyte bare unit, Amazon has it for $47, and the 1 gigabyte is $41. So it's not a significant price difference. But then you add in like the power supply, which is a high amperage USB-C, and then a case for it with fans and a heat sink, and then a memory card for the OS. It starts creeping up there pretty quick.
I can see that for sure. Yeah. Yeah. So wow, you almost had to pay more than $100 for a media player. Woo. So
For a complete NAS. it's it's a full network storage system as well. So, you know, not the worst.
yeah, I think once you put it in perspective, you still made out pretty good.
Yeah, it's it has a couple of well, the Pi 3 has a couple quirks, which are why I had to go to the Pi 4. I had to actually put the money into it. The Pi 3 doesn't have USB 3, and it has 100 megabit Ethernet, which is just sort of not enough for 4K video.
Yeah,
So,
I'm actually on Adafruit. I don't even see them selling the Pi 4. Wait, don't I see that? I see Pi
Try
3s all over the place.
try RadioShack.com.
Radio Shack?
it's still around.
And then Adafruit by Radio Shack. That was supposed to be the funny part. Ha ha ha
Yeah,
ha, ha.
there it
Oh,
is.
that's
Raspberry Pi
true.
4. Yeah. 4 gigabytes, 55 bucks. Yeah.
I have never owned a Raspberry Pi.
You got a few of them laying around the office there. Yeah. I enjoy them. I play with them for a little while and then lose interest. I never come up with anything creative enough to do it. I think my next big venture into doing something geeky with my aquaponics. I think I'm gonna try to break into the Raspberry Pi world again and do some self monitoring with the aquaponics system. I see a lot of packages out there for that. I actually got a little for Christmas. I got a little small aquaponics system I want to take to the office,
Oh,
and
nice.
a little starter kit. You know, get a little fish in there, and grow some herbs, and just kind of get a feel for
Is that herbs with air quotes or without air quotes?
it. Without air quotes, we're a professional business, man.
It's legal now. There's plenty of professional businesses that focus on
That's
herbs. I,
Oh man. So, anyways, coding. Who's coding? You make coding anything fun?
uh, I am coding an image reprocessor to convert all of our images into WebP format.
WebP format. Okay. All right. Ready for that?
Um, the tools in Ubuntu that are in the existing Ubuntu repository don't properly pass the metadata through. So, because of how our editors process images, they leave all of the color correction as metadata and not as final product. So that was a huge time sink for me trying to get metadata copy over correctly. But besides that, we're looking at 20% savings on file sizes,
That's
which
a big deal
is,
for you guys.
as a media company, yeah, it's a pretty big one.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting project. Looking into that. The fact that support for WebP format is universal except for Safari, and in fact, it was compiled into Safari by one of the developers, and when Apple realized that they had compiled a Google proprietary format into Safari, they had them remove it. So there was a version of Safari that supported the WebP format, but it was only in beta, and when the product went final, it was removed. So thank you, Apple. Very cool.
But it was proprietary, right? Or so they can't include it.
Oh no, they can. It's a free license. It's totally free license. It's just owned by Google.
Gotcha.
And it's not like an MIT license where there's some kind of complication. It's a totally open license. They basically say anyone who wants it can have it. But whatever. I guess that's capitalism.
Nobody's using Safari anyway.
It's like 20% of our users.
Really? Wow.
At least. Yeah, we have a lot of mobile users.
Okay, mobile makes sense. Yeah,
Yeah.
iPhone and iPads.
Yeah, we're like 60% mobile users, and of that 60%, the standard deviations
60%.
for. Yeah, it's pretty huge.
Wow, that's crazy.
Is it really though? Is it really?
Nah.
I mean, yeah, I don't know. One of our new developers we brought on, we're introducing to Laravel, which is fun. He's been a PHP developer for a while, so introducing him to the framework, I mean, it's taken him no time at all to get his head around it, and I actually had him start his first project in Laravel today, and I'm actually super excited about it. So I'll see how it works out. But it's always fun introducing somebody to Laravel again, because you start to hear the excitement in their voice of, it's like, it's not like learning a new language. It's just like relearning a way of doing something better, sort of, right? Yeah. So, it's been fun, and we actually have him working on a project which, if all goes well, we may spin off as a little product. So that's nice. I think if I had made a New Year's resolution for 2020, it would have been to focus more on product development than client work for DiegoDev. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how that goes. That's easier said than done. I think we've been saying that for years.
Hopefully this is the year.
So I don't have my company's stats here, but you have a ticket, Eric, from a company that does have stats.
Goodness, I forgot about Trello.
So you have a ticket from Pornhub's 2019 year in review.
Really?
Yes. And they show desktop usage at 16.3% and phone usage at 76%.
76%. Yeah, that's about on par with what you were saying.
Yeah, and of that 76% of phone users, 52% are on iOS. So you're looking at 40% ish that are using Safari that just can't use WebP format.
I forgot I put this on here. This is from December 18th, 2019. It's been a while.
Yeah, and so they're saying that 41% of all their mobile traffic is Safari. So, very interesting. The future is mobile, unfortunately.
I think we've known that for some time. I don't think that's anything new.
Boy, they have all the weird stats you'd ever want to see, though.
I don't know how. I got somebody trying to contact me on Skype. Speaking of new employees, and I can't figure out how to get you boneheads in the background. Here we go. I think I just did it. All right. Perfect. Perfect.
So, tell them you're busy and they should be listening to our show live.
What do I pay you for? Listen to our show.
You're
Listen
overseas.
to
This is your work day right now. You could be listening to us. Wouldn't that be fun? Then you start questioning life choices.
I gotta show you. I'm trying to catch a hold of the newest member of our family here. We got a
What?
we got a new kitten. This thing is an absolute. This thing is an absolute maniac. I don't know what to do with her. Hey, hey, cat, come here.
Well, this is exciting radio.
I got a new puppy. I put
Oh,
some,
more exciting radio.
Yes, I put some pictures out on our Discord for that, I believe. And
Sorry.
boy, that's
Sorry
just like
for our listeners.
that's just like having a toddler for some reason.
Look at this thing. Ah! She's a cutie. She's an absolute cutie. It was my wife's Christmas gift. She really wanted a cat, another cat. So we've had some bad luck with cats recently.
So you're helping your wife become the cat lady.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
I don't like the sinister laugh when he says bad luck with cats lately.
Oh, we've had
Well,
some
you
bad
don't
luck
want
with
to.
cats.
You don't want to know.
We don't want to go down that path again.
Very
Anyways. All right. I don't know. I think that's it. How long have we been talking? I feel like it's been an hour.
Well, I've got some classic crypto doom and gloom.
Lay it on us.
Show?
The creditors of the Quadriga CX cryptocurrency exchange.
Oh wait, is it CX or CZ? CX? Are you sure?
CX.
Okay, perfect.
Quadriga CX died at the age of 30, and his encrypted laptop, which had up to $215 million of customer deposits on it, was completely locked out.
Did we talk about this already?
I don't think so. It's the first I'm hearing of it.
Well, you barely show up for the shows. I'm pretty sure we've covered this.
Did we cover the fact that the people who he owed money to want to exhume his body to make sure he's actually dead?
Oh my god, no, I think that's a new twist.
So that is the twist here, is that he is 30 years old, died at the ripe age of should not have died, had a hasty burial, and left $250 million in cryptocurrency on a laptop that no one can get access to because he's dead. So the customers want proof that he really did die, and they want to exhume the body and do DNA testing and make sure that this guy didn't just fake his death in India and run off with $250 million. I am really, really curious because it's so not. It would so not be surprising for a 30-year-old techie to fake his own death to steal $250 million. I mean, that's the story of Office Space, basically.
Well, I don't think anybody was faking a death in Office Space.
Absolutely, at the end, Milton fakes his death and moves to a desert island.
Right, yeah. You are right. He does fake his death.
Absolutely. So
you said it. You said though, like it was the whole story of Office Space, and now you're saying, "What was the end of it?"
well, that's the techies who have access to a lot of money and don't quite know competently how to steal it is the story. Not
You
necessarily.
take fractions of a penny and you redirect it to your bank account. We
Yes.
learned this. That we did learn from Office Space.
Well, we learned that from Superman 2, and then Office Space.
Anyway,
But I will keep everybody updated on this because I am absolutely 50-50 on this, whether or not he actually died or faked his death.
so when they exhume the body, you're gonna fly there to make sure it's him.
I'm just going to keep everyone up on the news that I'm given.
Oh,
The lawyer's request for the body being exhumed requested that it be no later than spring of 2020. And amazingly enough, we are in the actual year 2020 now. So I will try to keep my nose to this article and let everyone know if someone successfully pulled off a $250 million heist by pretending to be dead.
that will be fascinating if they ever go through with it.
Thomas, you're going to have to explain to me how Mr. Robot ended because I've tried watching that a couple times now and I'm still confused.
Really?
Spoiler alert. So we should hang up and then you can explain.
Yeah, let's not do it on air for sure. But yeah,
That was the show of the decade. Everyone should watch it.
Mr. Robot.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm holding my response on it until I really understand what the hell happened. I was so in love with that show, and then I lost a little bit in season 2. Season 3, got a little better. Season 4 was going fantastic, and then the last.
It takes a hard turn.
Like, yeah, it's like, wait, what just happened? I'm
Yeah.
confused. All right. Yes. We won't talk about it here. We will talk about it. We'll talk about it in private. So
We'll talk about it in the after show if you want to listen along.
we do have a show question here in Discord. What was our favorite movie of 2019? I can't even think of what I watched in 2019.
I think Parasite was my favorite movie of 2019.
Parasite. Man,
The new Grinch movie.
Oh God.
You didn't go see a Grinch movie. Is there a Grinch movie?
I think it was 2017.
You're worthless.
2018. It was 2018. But I've watched it at least a dozen times this year.
Oh, was Upgrade 2019? If Upgrade was 2019, I'll vote for that.
Yeah, Upgrade was all right.
Was that 2019
What was up?
or was that?
What was Upgrade?
It's basically Venom minus the Venom. It's almost the exact same movie as Venom.
That is not. I have not heard that description before, but that's not far off.
I would say watch it. It's the same movie as Venom without the superhero.
You had Avengers Endgame, Frozen 2.
I Am Mother.
Wow, was that out? I Am Mother. I didn't see that one.
That one's a good one.
Yeah. What is? Oh, is I Am Mother? Is that like a robot? She's a robot or something?
Yes.
Oh my God, Joker! Joker came out. I guess Joker would be.
Joker was great. Yeah.
Joker. Oh, John Wick 3 was out. That was good. John Wick.
I've never seen any of the John Wick movies.
They're good, but I wouldn't call them great film.
No, they're just action movies.
Yeah.
Here. I think Joker really was not what I had expected and was really good. Rocket Man was good. It was out.
Shazam?
Shazam was great.
Really? I haven't didn't see it.
Pretty disappointing. X-Men Phoenix Rising.
No, Dark Phoenix. That was terrible.
Long Shot was actually pretty funny. I saw that on a plane. I didn't even bother to pay for it or anything. It was on a plane and I watched it. And it was funnier than I thought it was going to be, but definitely not one of my favorites. Yeah, I think Joker. Just going through what I see came out. I think Joker is going to do it for me.
What about the new Aladdin?
Rocket Man. Yeah, Rocket Man came
Again,
out.
again, I
New
haven't seen any
Aladdin.
of these.
Haven't seen
I'm
that
just
yet.
talking because you're making me stay on the air, and I thought we were hanging up.
We're hanging up. We're done. We're done. We need to listen. Next week we need to have some real code stuff to talk about. Everybody else talks about actual coding stuff, and we don't talk about coding stuff anymore. So
I will have some coding stuff. I promise.
I am I am 100% code next week. I promise.
Liar.
And
No way.
Liar,
Not
liar.
a chance.
I'm digging myself out of this funk, this damn funk I've been in for months, and I think tomorrow is going to be my breaking point. Either after tomorrow things are going to be all better, or all over. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how it goes. We
At
have
what
some big
time?
meetings
At what
tomorrow.
time? What time tomorrow?
Yeah, you know what time? By lunchtime. By lunchtime, I should have a better feeling of how my my 2020 is going to go. We'll see how it goes. We have some meetings. We have meetings happening. All right. I think that's it. Anybody have anything else you want to talk about?
I think that's it
Negative.
for tonight.
All right. Well, I appreciate you guys getting together. We haven't talked. I mean, we haven't Thomas. We haven't talked since the last time you were on the show. So I was happy you were able to get back on schedule with us.
Yeah, it's been nice. Things have been complicated and crazy, but always got to try and make time for you guys.
Always happy when you're able to show up as well, John. It's always a pleasure.
Hey, thanks.
All
It
right.
was fun
And
again.
for everybody listening, we always love it when you guys listen. Give us feedback. Hit us up on
We
Twitter.
we like you better
Discord.
if you're a Patreon.
You
Yeah,
can
that's
buy
just a
our
given.
love. You literally can buy our love by going to Patreon and giving us money. We will actually care for you more. So there's no shame in that game. Letting you know that. Depending on how this client work goes, we may be pushing the whole YouTubing a little harder because we might need money. I don't know. We'll see. It could be a thing. All
We'll
right.
we'll know more at noon tomorrow.
That's right. All right. This is it. I'm signing off. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm John Congdon.
I'm Tom Rideout.
Keep it
Keep it
ugly.
Keep it
ugly.
ugly.
Doot, 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 doot.
Oh, I almost hit the hang up button.
I've done
I
that.
think
I've straight up done that.
how many viewers do we have? We have 5 viewers. If you're viewing this right now and you don't want to get spoiled on Mr. Robot, then stop viewing, and we'll give
All
you a
right,
few minutes to hang up.
all right, I'm
Are you
hanging
hanging
up.
up? Are you hanging up?
I don't want to be spoiled. I stopped my local recording, just so you know.
It's 4 seasons of a show that you haven't watched.
I've watched the first season. I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Really? First time hearing of this.
You just haven't watched the other 3
What other theory?
seasons.
Seasons. I guess I'll do editing this week, Thomas.
Oh, that'd be great. Thank you.
You're
And
welcome.
I'll be able to pick that back up soon.
All
I
right.
promise.
I don't know, John. If you want to drop off, you can drop off. I guess I don't care.
Oh,
I need somebody to
I guess
explain Mr. Robot to me.
I got stuff I want to do anyway. So,
Well, fine.
all right. See you guys later.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody else watching, don't say you weren't warned, because this is spoiler galore if you haven't watched the end of Mr. Robot. Thomas, what the hell? What the hell, Mr. Thomas? Explain to me what I saw, because I'm not sure. When I thought I understood what I was watching, then some other shit happened. I'm like, wait a minute, did that really just happen?
So, the room in the power plant is a real room.
Okay.
That's not conceptual in any way. That's a room that White Rose actually had built inside of this power plant.
Okay.
And the game that he plays is really the game that White Rose made for him to see if he could shut the machine down the way he wanted to. So like all of that is real.
I was actually okay with it through that piece.
The thing that gets weird is right after the power plant blows up, and he ends up in a made up world where everything is the way he wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a world that he made up for the real Elliot Alderson. He's not the main personality. Season 1 starts with him taking over the body of Elliot Alderson and kicking Elliot out, saying, hey, you're stuck here in this fake reality where everything's perfect. But he is actually not the real Elliot. He is the mastermind. And because he takes over, he has this giant plan to overthrow Western society. And what he realizes while he's stuck in the fake world is that it's time for him to let go and let Elliot back into his own body, control himself, and just watch from the sidelines like the other personalities do.
Really?
So there's 4 personalities. There's the mother, the father, the young Elliot, the mastermind, and then there's the real Elliot, who we only see right before he gets killed in the fake reality.
So that was a fake reality.
Right, but the Elliot that was there, the one that was getting married, that was the real personality. That was the real Elliot from the very, very beginning. We've just never seen him before.
Okay.
Because the whole story arc from season 1 to 4 is the story arc of one personality, the mastermind. We didn't know that. We thought that the mastermind was the real Elliot, but it wasn't. It was just another one of his alter egos. And all of the other alter egos knew this the whole time, but couldn't tell him because he wouldn't believe them. So he had tricked himself.
So through those 4 seasons, the real Elliot never showed up.
Right.
Was that a real reality we were watching?
Yes. That was the real reality, but it was being controlled completely by the mastermind. The body was being completely controlled by the mastermind. Elliot never experienced any of it. And
so all the other people involved then were aware of this as well.
The only other person that was aware of it was Darlene. She knew that it wasn't the real Elliot, but he was paying attention to her, so she let him play it out. But when he didn't remember who she was, because
Angela as well. Angela had to have known this as well because
she
was manipulating them.
No, she noticed that he was acting different, but didn't know about his different personalities like that. She just thought he's been acting different lately.
Well, she knew about Mr. Robot because that's the one she was interacting with.
Yes, but she didn't know that the mastermind was an alternate personality as well. At least I don't think so.
That could have ended so many different ways. I don't know if I like the way it ended.
Well,
what you think?
It was written to end that way from the very beginning. That's the thing. It wasn't like he had to wrap up a story that he started without knowing the ending. That was always going to be the ending. And I liked it a lot. I liked the way that it engaged the viewer, because the viewer was also a personality in Elliot's head.
Well, that was the thing, is I was still waiting for that to manifest itself as something more based on what you were, your theories that you were giving me. I'm like, all right, well that makes some sense.
Yeah,
I can see that. but that never actually happened. So
Well, so they sort of addressed it because in the fake reality, his psychiatrist talks directly to the viewers, and she's like, "You guys are also part of this. You guys have to let the whole thing go as well. Like, you have to accept that this is the end for you guys. Otherwise, the whole system doesn't work." And that was basically, it was a very meta reference to the fact that the viewers of a TV show could keep it alive much longer than it should be alive. Like Firefly got canceled, and
yeah,
people are still obsessed about it.
yeah,
And that the viewer also has to let it go in order for the show to be over.
yeah, yeah. Huh.
It was, I liked that a lot. And you know, the theater with everyone just sort of watching Elliot live out his life
Hmm.
is very interesting. The situation with Dom getting on the airplane but Darlene not getting on the airplane was really weird.
Yeah,
But that was, I've read a lot about how that worked out and the fact that was sort of a cathartic thing for both of them. Is that Dom
so
needed to get on with her
so
life without Darlene, and Darlene needed to get on with her life without Dom.
so Darlene was a real person. So that was the one that I thought that was going to be the curveball. I thought Darlene was going to be real.
So in the fake reality with all the white cars, Darlene wasn't there. She was the one thing that wasn't there. And that's because she was an emotional tether for Elliot, the real Elliot. And if she was there, he would never have settled correctly into the fake life that the mastermind wanted him to be in. So
That was that was too much, man.
I loved it.
That's
I
too
thought it was
much.
great.
All right, I'm glad you enjoyed it. All right, man. Well, like I said, I'll do editing this week and
All right.
take it easy. And all right, man.
Oh, you asked about the cameras. It's the
Oh,
Waze
I did.
Waze cam, WYZE.
Yeah, that's what I told them. WYZE.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yeah, is that the one I gave them? Yep. Yeah, that's definitely the one I of course, they had a data breach, in case you're wondering,
Uh,
3 days ago. um, wow, data breach. 2.4 million customers released. Oh, awesome. Choosing gift, a budget-friendly internet connection home device. A home security camera from Waze Labs was an easy decision for holiday shoppers after the gadget landed on several top tech gift guides by Monday. Camera information, Wi-Fi details, and email addresses of customers were exposed from December 4th to December 27th. The breach was made public by the 12 Security blog on December 26th. 12 Security is a consulting firm that works to create secure computing environments. Executives at Waze Labs are made aware of the data breach when a customer posted the blog post from 12 Security on a Waze online forum. Waze immediately began to audit its security protocols and found the second breach on December 27th.
yep. And then Ring got breached.
Yeah, Ring got breached and now Nest. Did you see the Nest breach?
Something. The one where they had to shut it off on all the Google Home devices because it had other people's cameras showing up on people's Google Homes.
Well, the one I saw had some guy speaking to a young girl in her room, telling her to break all of her toys. That he was Santa Claus and
Oh
he
yeah,
was going
yeah.
to replace everything. Oh my god, how terrifying is that?
That
So
was Ring, yeah.
no, that was Nest. Was that Ring or Nest? I think that was
That was
Nest.
Ring.
Okay,
Yeah, I've
I
got the
believe it.
article right here.
All right.
I got a an Echo Show.
One of the small Echo shows.
Yeah, the 5-inch one.
Yeah, I got my wife that one too.
Yeah, I got that because our alarm clock broke, and I was like, "Hey, why not?"
I did the exact same thing.
Yeah.
We didn't have a clock. We didn't have a clock in the office here because we have so many computers. We're always looking at a computer. But if you're not sitting at a computer, if the computers are asleep, we have no clock in here. So I got her one for the office and got her one for the bedroom for the same reason. It's we didn't have a have a digital clock in there anymore. So.
Yeah, I don't like the interface, but what are you gonna do?
They're all. What was weird is with when I put the Echo shows online, all my Hue lights had to be reconfigured. Like none of my Hue lights work, which is a pain in the ass because that's how we control all of our lights here in our house, and none of them worked. I had to. They had to like get rediscovered, reconfigured, all because of the Echo show.
Ugh.
Right.
All right. Well,
All right, man.
I'm gonna head out, watch Doctor Who with the wife.
All right, take it easy. Everybody who's the two viewers who are still watching, you guys are maniacs. Get a life. Hang out, go do something. I'll talk to you guys later. See you guys next week.
All right. Bye.